1853. This used to be the St. Mary's School for Boys. Alright folks, right away I get to show y'all one of my favorite things out here. Y'all pull out your cameras if you'd like to. You got lots of extra time to pull those out. I'm going to show you an optical illusion. As we exit this bridge, we can all look up high and over to my left-hand side. We're going to see what appears to be a totally flat building. It's going to look two-dimensional, just like a cartoon. Alright, y'all start looking way up high over to my left-hand side. Y'all see that flat building up there? The reason why this building looks totally flat, this is a triangular iron building, so at certain angles it gives off this illusion of being a totally flat face. This is the Nix Hospital. They opened up back in 1930. So the Nix Hospital was the very first fully air-conditioned hospital in the nation. This was the only hospital you used to be able to come to get a break from the sun while you were as sick as a dog. It turned out to be a total waste of time in the long run, though. Who needs AC in Texas? It's always perfectly comfortable around here. Up in front of us, this white building with the red stripes on the windows is the Hyatt Regency. They opened up back in 1981. You can see they're kind of short, 16 stories high. They have plans to build this over 30 stories high, about double its size, but they were unable to do so. That is because it is Texas state law that no shadow shall fall upon the Alamo. The Hyatt Regency was built directly in front of the Alamo, so they had to construct it with its shadows in mind. Over its glass doors, it says the Shops of Paseo del Alamo. That is the quickest way to get to the Alamo from the river. Pick one of these sets of doors. You come out on the other side, you'll be right in front of the Alamo. But hey, we're coming up in a live band. I'm going to be quiet while we come through. I'm going to let y'all just enjoy this as we pass on by. Alright, so actually, sorry, real quick folks, I failed to mention something earlier because I forgot. It's getting dark now, so a lot of your phones are going to automatically turn on your flashes. Please turn those off, folks. They are very bright in everybody's eyes, especially my own. I am driving this boat and I am not on rails, so if you see somebody next to you and their flash is on, please just tell them to turn it off. Thank you very much. Over here on the right-hand side, this red building is the Casino Club building. Don't get too excited by the name. This is not a casino. We don't do that here in Texas. It was opened up back in 1927. It was a hangout spot for the German settlers. They used to come down here to have some fun. They played card games in here. They had bowling alleys, chow halls, that sort of thing. The first two levels are now a restaurant, and the top is a very expensive apartment complex. The author of the book Roots, Alex Haley, used to live up here in the Casino Club building, but they currently have a 20-plus year waiting list. If you want to live here, you better submit an application tonight. You're not going to live here for at least the next 20 years. The actor Tommy Lee Jones used to have an apartment up here, but of course this was not his primary residence. That guy definitely has a mansion somewhere with all that Men in Black money. We have just come into Restaurant Row. We call it that because this has the densest population of restaurants on the river. If you're hungry and you're looking for a bite to eat, it's always a safe bet that you can stop right over here and find something you'll enjoy. And if you folks like margaritas, a couple of spots around here serve a 64-ounce margarita, which is half a gallon. They have 16 shots of tequila in them. So if you're looking to maybe find your car, you can come on by. My record is 3. As we come underneath Commerce Street Bridge, we can start looking over to the right. We're going to see a bunch of people enjoying a meal at Casa Rio. Casa Rio opened up back in 1946. They were the very first restaurant to open up on the river. Also the first to offer barge dining, where you would get into a wooden gondola and someone to push you around the stick while you enjoyed your meal. They just recently celebrated their 77th anniversary. I will warn you though, if you're going to eat out here on the patio, be wary of the pigeons. They are ravenous. They will try to steal your food while you're still sitting down enjoying it. It is not uncommon to see somebody out here in a fist fight with a pigeon. Alright folks, we're going to do a quick stop right here. This is essentially a stop sign. We have to be sure that we're not going to run into somebody that's coming from our left. Pretty sure you do not want to play Titanic out here with me. Really looking good. So, we have a pretty large misconception in the city about the river. A lot of people tend to think that this river is man-made, which is just not true. This is a natural river called the San Antonio River, and it starts in the Edwards Aquifer, which is an underground lake. The Edwards Aquifer is so massive it provides tap water to more than 70% of Texas, and parts of it still yet to be discovered. It is so large. Our river eventually meets up with the Guadalupe River and dumps out in the Gulf of Mexico, many hundreds of miles of natural waterway. This little section that we just came down right now, this is man-made. This has a cement bottom, but this is the only portion of the San Antonio River that is man-made. This was completed back in 1968 so that we could connect the World's Fair to the historic area where we just came from. Alright, so this next building I'm about to talk about actually has one of my favorite stories. This one is crazy. We're going to look a little bit to the left to see this Marriott that has the two white spikes on it. They opened up back in 1988. But whenever they first acquired the land back there was already a historic hotel on site called the Fairmont, which opened up back in 1906. Since the Fairmont Hotel was deemed historic, Marriott could not demolish it to make way for this new structure. So what they did with the old building was they picked it up and they moved it. They moved the Fairmont Hotel 5 blocks away over the period of 6 days. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records for the largest hotel to ever be moved on tires. It weighed 1,650 tons, which is 3.3 million pounds. There's a short documentary about it on YouTube. If you look up Moving the Fairmont Hotel, San Antonio, it is well worth the watch. It was a crazy engineering feat, the way they picked up a whole building and then drove it somewhere else. The Fairmont Hotel now sits at the corner of South Alamo and Nuevo. I moved them back in 1985. All right, y'all, this next one's coming up on my right. It's our most iconic building other than the Alamo. So, of course, I don't want y'all to miss this one. We're going to look up high to the right through this gap in the trees that's just about to come up, and you're going to see the Tower of the Americas. Centerpiece of the 1968 World's Fair, this is what attracted everybody down to our city. At the time, that was the tallest tower in the nation, standing at 750 feet tall. There are over 900 steps leading up to the top of that structure, and there's actually a world record for sprinting up all 900 steps. 5 minutes, 18 seconds. I will never do that again. The top of it slowly rotates. Takes about an hour for it to complete a rotation. There's a bar and restaurant up there. If you want to go have a meal and a drink, you can watch as it appears that the city slowly rotates around you. And of course, there is an elevator. You do not have to take us 952 stairs up. Now, of course, folks, I was joking. I am not the world record holder for running up the stairs. But the crazy thing about that record, a 16-year-old boy set that record back in 1981. They hold that competition every year, and nobody has ever beaten his time. That kid was an absolute animal. We are coming into the shops at River Center, or the River Center Mall, if you will. This is one of 10 malls that we have in town. This one's actually our second largest. It's over 1 million square feet. We have more than 120 retailers back here, 14 restaurants, an AMC and an IMAX theater. And if you want to go watch the Battle for Texas, the experience, you can get a history lesson on what happened during the Battle of the Alamo. Speaking of attractions that we have in this mall, we have America's favorite Mexican food. That's right, we have a Taco Bell. Taco Bell has been voted America's favorite Mexican restaurant. What a shame. Those people have obviously never been down here to have some real Mexican food before. Right, folks, I can do a Q&A in this little section of the river. When we get back to this bridge that we just came underneath, it'll be about 2 to 3 minutes from now. I will continue with the scheduled portion of the tour. But until then, y'all feel free to ask me as many questions as you would like. If not, though, of course, y'all can just kind of hang out and enjoy these views while we're out here in the mall. I believe that's a grackle. It sounds like them. Because we have a ton of them down here. They look kind of like crows, but they're actually not the corporate family. Yes, ma'am. See, no, folks. One of my most frequently asked questions out here is how many people fall into the river each year? Well, the answer is just about 300. Almost one a day. That's right, but most of them are coming out of Dirty Nelly's pub. I've watched someone walk right out of that bar and right into the river. It's true. It really is typically the drunk people. If y'all hang around a bar long enough, you'll see somebody fall in. Nobody else has a question for me so far? I can make up anything you want to hear. Come on. Sorry, what was it? Yes, it actually is. So it is a, I think, $300 fine if you jump into the river. I'll give you a couple of the more frequently asked questions out here, though. So a lot of people ask if we have fish down here. Absolutely, this is a natural river. We have tons of fish, mostly bottom feeders. So, you know, a lot of carp and catfish. What else do I get asked a lot out here? People always ask me how many bridges are down here for some reason. 26. I had to count them because people kept asking me. Let me see. Yeah, this whole section up here is like a huge jungle gym for kids. There's actually a rock climbing wall over here as well. We got lots of great stuff for the kids in here. There's actually an entire Dave & Buster's in this mall. Actually, you know what, folks? I got a story for you. I'll do y'all a better one than all these questions. But this one's off the books, right? If anyone asks about this story, I didn't tell you this one. All right, y'all see this bridge up in front of us, the one that has all the white lights on the left-hand side? Well, back in the day, Steve-O was in town. And if you don't know who Steve-O is, he is a world-renowned stuntman. He was here in the city, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to jump into the river. So he goes up on top of that bridge. He gets up on the railing, and he does a backflip into the river. But what Steve-O didn't know is that this river is 3 feet deep, and this section right here is made out of cement. Whenever he landed, he broke both of his ankles. He was arrested by police, and he was told to never return to the city. He is one of 2 people that is actually banned for life from ever returning to San Antonio. The other person is Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah, Ozzy Osbourne is here in the city doing a concert. Whenever he finished it, he walked over to the Alamo, and then he urinated on it. Yeah, he is not allowed back in this city. You know what? I'll tell you about this statue right here. I don't need to talk about it because it's technically not historic. This is actually the newest piece of artwork on the river. This is the Stargazer. It was given to us only 2 years ago by an artist named Pedro Reyes. She's made out of volcanic stone from Mexico, and in her hand she's holding a white marble star that has a hole in it. She's looking through that hole in the star up into the sky. The artist himself, Pedro Reyes, says that it is up for interpretation exactly what it means. He made it. You figure it out. Alright, well, we're getting back over the bridge. I'll go ahead and continue with the scheduled portion of the tour. As we take this right, we can look over to the right. We're going to see a statue of St. Anthony de Padua, aka San Antonio. This is the namesake of our city. So this was given to us back in 1968 during the World's Fair. It was a gift from Portugal, which is where he used to live back in the early 12th century. He is known as the patron saint of all lost articles. It is said that if you lose something of significance, you can pray to St. Anthony, and it will be returned to you. This next one is also on my right. It's the steeple back here. I know it's a little harder to see. This steeple belongs to the St. Joseph's Catholic Church, which opened up back in 1868. St. Joseph's was a church for the German settlers to come and worship in their own language. Before they opened up, there was only Spanish and English-speaking churches in the city. To this day, they still hold masses in German, and they have an all-male German choir that performs every Monday. So if you're yearning for a German sermon, you can come on by. In case you're wondering, yes, I do write all of these awful jokes myself. Have pity on me. I know it can be really hard to see back here. There's a lot of tree coverage, but yeah, if you try to peek through, you will see that the church that I was just talking about is surrounded by these very large walls of the mall. So whenever the mall we were just looking at was constructed back in 1988, they tried to buy St. Joseph's so they could demolish them and have extra room. Of course, St. Joseph said, absolutely not. Build around us if you want to. That's what they had to do. Certain parts of the mall do get skinny because of that. I commend St. Joseph's for staying strong. It would have been a shame to see that historic church demolished for a little bit of extra room in a shopping mall. Have y'all ever seen the Disney Pixar film Up? It's kind of the same concept, a little building surrounded by a huge mall. I don't know if that's the inspiration for the movie or not. It actually might be. Over here on the right-hand side at the end of this cobblestone wall, there is a large mural of butterfly wings. If you want a great photo opportunity, come right over here, get up against this wall, and you will look like you got your wings. And then on Alamo Street, up high to the right, we're going to see a big red sculpture up here on street level. It is known as the Torch of Friendship. This was gifted to us back in 2002 by the Mexican government and designed by the artist Sebastian. Sebastian says that the twisting nature of this is to indicate the complex relationship that Texas and Mexico have with one another. Texas and Mexico, we have not always seen eye to eye. We have been at war. A lot. But we've got friends at this point. Thank you, Mexico, for giving us that token of friendship. Alright, folks. This next story that I'm about to tell y'all is actually my longest story out here, but bear with me. I promise this one pays off. Alright, so as we come out of the man-made section of the river, we can look up high to the left, over Market Street Bridge, and we're going to see this huge hotel that has all of the yellow-lit cubes on it. So this is the Hilton Palacio del Rio, or the Hilton Palace of the River. And this is my favorite building, because in my opinion, this one has the most interesting story. And I'm actually going to pause here for just a moment, just in case any of y'all want to snap a picture of it, because we're not going to come back by it again. So, back before the 1968 World's Fair, San Antonio was not a tourist destination. We did not have enough hotel space for all these people that were coming into town. There was a huge rush to make as many hotels in the city as possible, especially downtown. That is where the event was taking place. Hilton acquired the land right here, and they needed somebody to build this hotel in a year, which is crazy. This is a huge hotel, but it's actually because their first contractor pulled one over on them. Their first contractor had 5 years to make a hotel out here, but Hilton wasn't keeping up with them. When they showed up here 5 years later to see that new hotel of theirs, they saw that their contractor had not even started. They only had 1 year left for the World's Fair, nothing to show for it, and worse yet, they had pre-booked all 485 rooms on good faith that there was going to be a hotel here like they had contracted for. They were in a real conundrum. But luckily, they ended up meeting a man named H.P. Zachary. H.P. Zachary was actually fresh out of college. He had just graduated from UTSA, but he was very confident in his abilities. He comes to Hilton and he tells them, I'll make you a building down here in a year. Like, I don't even need a year. I'll take the holidays and the weekends off and I'll still get it done on time. If I can't do it, I'll sell you this building for $1. Of course, he got taken up on that offer. That is the deal of a lifetime. H.P. Zachary came up with a genius solution that had never been done before. What he did, he built the first 4 floors here on site as a foundation. You can see the way they kind of stick out a little bit right there. And then he built the elevator shaft, this middle piece going all the way up to the top floor. While he was making this small portion of the building here on site, he was producing all of these cube rooms 8 miles away in a manufacturing line. And each one of the cube rooms was fully furnished. They had everything you could imagine ready to go in them. Their beds were in place, made up of the sheets, nightstands and Bibles in them, TVs are bolted down, the electricals and plumbings were already hooked up. All they had to do was ship the rooms over here, and then they stacked them one by one with a massive crane. The building is essentially a giant Lego set. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records for the largest hotel that can be built in the shortest time frame. This is completed in only 202 days. Needless to say, H.P. Zachary did not have to sell his building for $1 because he kept good to his word and he got it done on time. And this is the world's first model of modular construction. That was back in 1968. So we're coming out of the Arneson Theater, built back in 1941. They are currently holding an event, so of course I'm not going to talk while we come through. Y'all just enjoy this as we come on through and give the crowd a wave if you want to.
We're going to try to get one more in. It is that time. We're going to try to do one more, y'all. So before we wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for sticking out in this heat, coming out in this heat, and enjoying a night of soul, y'all. And on behalf of myself and the Main Event Band, we're always happy to play music for our San Antonians and our guests from San Antonio. So if you're new to the city, if you're visiting, welcome. I'm home because you're home. Be awesome, super awesome. So listen, guys, enjoy yourselves.
All right. Over here on the right-hand side, this is the Briscoe Western Art Museum. They opened it back in 2013. But the building itself dates back to 1930. From 1930 until 1968, this was San Antonio's public library, and then from 68 until 2001, it was the Hertzberg Circus Museum. It now houses Pancho Villa's last known saddle, Santa Anna's ceremonial sword, and an interactive diorama of the conflict of the Alamo. Pretty much any questions that you have about how the West was settled, the Briscoe has you covered. And coming up in front of us, we can all see that this bridge is very low. This is the lowest bridge on the river, and it's one of the many reasons I like to warn everybody about standing up during the tour. Don't worry though, as long as you remain seated, I will not hit your head on this bridge. I learned my lesson yesterday. I'm kidding, of course. I have never hit anyone's head on this bridge. I am a professional. This bridge was constructed back in 1890, all the way out in Berlin, Connecticut. That is true. East Berlin, Connecticut is a real place. Up in front of us on the right-hand side, we're going to see this steel square sculpture known as Father Massenet's Table. It was placed over here back in 1991 by local artist Rolando Briseño to commemorate the 300th anniversary of the very first Catholic Mass that was held down here on the river back in 1691. And then also on the right, we're going to see this large cypress tree on the island. Well, this tree actually is the island. This island right here is made up of the roots of this tree. We call this Marriage Island. It is naturally in the shape of a heart. Over 300 marriage ceremonies take place here each year, and it is said to bring good luck to anyone who gets married here. Trust me, my first 3 marriages were great. It's okay, y'all, you can laugh. I've not even been married once, it's just a joke. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this joke's great. Alright, y'all. I don't recommend y'all touch this bridge unless y'all really like spiders. If you do, you can reach out and take home your complimentary handful of spiders from San Antonio. Yeah, I don't know why spiders love this bridge so much, but this is where they all live. Alright, so we have just come into Old Mill Crossing. Back in the 1800s, people used to cross from one side of the river to the other, right over here, because this area is particularly shallow. This is only about 2 feet deep, and the ground is very hard packed in, so you wouldn't have to worry about your horse and buggy getting caught in the mud while you went from one side of the river to the other. Teddy Roosevelt and his Rough Riders, they used to come through here quite a bit in the late 1890s. And we can also start looking way up high, over to my left-hand side. We're going to see this tall building with the beautiful American flag blowing in the breeze. Some of y'all are going to know this one if you've ever seen the movie Ghostbusters. Yeah, I'm just messing with y'all. Ghostbusters is filmed in New York. This does have a striking resemblance to the building from the movie, doesn't it? It even has a bunch of gargoyles up top, just like in the film. And if y'all look over these small trees on my left-hand side, directly beneath the windows that are just above the trees, you will see some ornate faces in pairs of 2. These ugly little faces right above the trees are known as grotesques. So the reason why the gargoyles and grotesques are in place is because the builders were very superstitious. They thought that putting those there would ward off evil spirits and bad business. It unfortunately did not work. They completed the Tower Life building back in 1929, right before the stock market crashed. They built this for $3 million, and then they had to turn around and sell it back to the city for $300,000. They lost $2.7 million. Those faces did not work hard enough. In today's economy, that'd be like losing $46 million. They lost a fortune. And so, you know, folks, in the past, we've had different companies that own these boats. So, like, different companies have done these boat tours at times, and not all of them cared about factual accuracy. For many years, there were boat captains out here in San Antonio telling people that that was the building from Ghostbusters. But they were being totally serious. I promise it is not. I like to use it as a joke now after I heard about that because I think it's hilarious. But it was actually designed in a really cool way. If y'all look behind me over the bridge, you'll see it was designed to look like a ship coming into our river. The bottom part of the building is the bow, the front of the ship, and the top part is the helm, which is what I'm standing at right now. And some people say that this reminds them of the Titanic. Another movie reference. Alright folks, at this archway, I have to honk my horn to let traffic know that I'm coming through. I don't want to scare y'all. I know, it's terrifying. We're good to go though, now traffic knows we're coming through. Alright, so, this archway that we're coming underneath is known as Floodgate 4. Floodgate 4 has a massive metal door that comes from the bottom of the river, and it meets up with this archway to seal it off. If we're ever having a severe storm, we can close this up to protect all the businesses from getting flooded out. And we have just come into the main channel of the river, and we can look up in front of us to see that this bridge is covered in locks. We call these the love locks. People come down here, they buy a lock, they write their initials on it, they write their lover's initials on it, they then lock it down to this bridge, and then they take their key and they throw it into the river to symbolize their eternal love. Isn't that sweet? Yeah, and if you're feeling unsure about your partner, you could always get a combination lock. You'd be surprised. Y'all go up there, look around for a second. There's plenty of combination locks. Some people don't seem to understand the symbology of what these locks mean. Alright folks, this one's crazy. Back in 1921, we had a storm down here that was so severe it flooded the river 9 feet above street level. If y'all take a look at these bridges in front or behind us, that's street level. Imagine 9 feet of water up on top of it. The river rose more than 20 feet from where it is beneath us right now. That killed over 50 people and it caused millions in damages. That's why we had the man Robert Hugman come along, the father of the Riverwalk. He devised the flood control system. The gate that I just showed you is an example of it. We can now control the levels of the water. We will never have another tragedy like that again. Of course, a big thank you is owed to Robert Hugman. Without him, we would not have this beautiful river-centric city as we know today. Especially because the city of San Antonio almost filled this river in with cement because the flooding was out of control and they didn't know what to do about it. That would have been an absolute shame. San Antonio would not be the same without this river running through the middle of it. I, of course, like to give Robert Hugman his full story. He's a very important man, but I also didn't want y'all to miss this next one, so I'm going nice and slow. The next one's on my left. It's going to be a little bit harder to spot because it's back here in the distance. Well, actually, you can see now it's lit up with yellow. So this building back here that's lit up yellow is San Fernandez Cathedral. They opened up back in 1731. They're the oldest continuously operating church in all of Texas. They've been going strong since 1731. They have the remains of the defenders of the Alamo in there, and Tuesday through Sunday, so of course, unfortunately not tonight, but Tuesday through Sunday, they have a free laser light show. It takes place right where we were just looking, between the times of 9 to 9:30, and then from 9:30 to 10. If y'all gonna be here past today, I highly recommend y'all check that out. One of the only free shows in the city, and it's super cool. Again, that is called the Saga. If you want to look at further information on that free laser light show. Up in front of us, this massive cypress tree with all the multicolored light on it is known as the Ben Milam tree. Oldest on the river, this tree is over 350 years old. We call this the Ben Milam tree because back in 1835, during the Battle of Behar, we had a colonel in the army. His name was Ben Milam. He was shot by a Mexican sniper that was up in this tree. So we named this in honor of that colonel who perished, Ben Milam. This archway we're about to come underneath is another one of our floodgates, Floodgate 3, but this one works a little bit differently. Floodgate 3 has a 5-ton steel door that drops down from the top, kind of like a guillotine. This thing closes every night at 9:11 p.m. Anyone have the time? I'm kidding, of course. This thing would not close unless we were having a flood. Those next 15 minutes to close anyway. Even if it did start right now, it wouldn't even touch us. That joke's more for me. I just like to see people's faces. Over here on the left, this white building used to be the CPS building where people would come to pay their gas and electrical bills. They opened up in 1921, 1 week before that massive flood that we had. On their first week of business, they got totally washed out. And y'all, look over to the left. Count up 3 windows up to that ridge line. That's how high the water got during the flood in 1921. The ridge beneath that 3rd set of windows. That flood was absolutely insane. And then over here on the right, the Esquire Tavern is the oldest bar on the river. They used to be a speakeasy in disguise of a barber shop. So you'd come in here, ask for a secret haircut, and get yourself a little booze. Back in 1933, whenever Prohibition ended, day 1, they had a fully stocked bar ready to go for the public. Imagine that. It's a real mystery where they got all that alcohol from. But alright folks, as I'm sure you can tell, we are back where we started. This is my least favorite part of the tour. This is where I gotta break up with you. It's not me, it's you. You gotta get off the boat. I hope you had a great time. Everyone, please look around. Oh, thank you very much, man. Everyone, please look around. Make sure you have everything. Your phones, wallets, keys. Kids, we don't want them. If you do happen to leave something behind, you can always check in other ticket locations. We do have lost and founds. For your safety, please remain seated. This boat can shake, rock, and bump around until I have it fully secured, so please do not stand up until I tell you it is safe to do so. And the one last thing, folks, of course, tips are always very much accepted, allowed, and appreciated. I even have a little tip jar right up here. Where did that come from? Propina, es para cerveza, es por favor. I do appreciate you folks for coming out here. And of course, I hope you enjoy the rest of your time in the city, especially on a beautiful river walk. Do give me just a moment to secure this boat. I'll let y'all know when it's time to get up.